in the blue fuck am I doing on a Thursday night? What in the blue fuck am I Guess doing who? On a Thursday? It's another edition of Reapers Underground. Yes, this time we are on a Thursday night. It's another edition of Reapers Underground. Yes, this time you're gonna have to probably turn your sound down just to let you know, because I'm hearing myself come back.
Hold on.
Not a problem.
I think we're good. All
right, man. Sweet. So technical difficulties aside, I am here tonight with my very special guest, Len Lamanna of Frailfragment, movie score writer and musician songwriter. Something we've never done on the Underground before, but as you know, the big bad devil daddy himself always brings you the best of the Underground. Doesn't matter what part of the industry, but we are very excited to have him tonight. But before we get into everything few and far between, let's take a quick commercial break from Dezea's Creep Shop. Check it out. That's right. If you are looking for the highest quality of oddity collectibles, horror collectibles, Dezea's Creep Shop has exactly what you need. From that commercial alone, you can see that she is really kind of like coming up with a lot of new ideas, new collectibles, and her clothing game. Oh, let me tell you, if you're like me and we have the love for the devil, guess what? You need to get some of her joggers and t-shirts because they are killer. Dezea's Creep Shop, Etsy.com. Now, if you're just tuning in, I want you to look at that little button over there. It says share. That's right. I'm talking about everybody out there in the Reaper Legions to share this out for everyone to see, because we have an awesome guest tonight, Len Lamanna of Frailfragment. All right. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, Reaper. I appreciate it.
Most def. Yes. Always bringing you the best in underground music, actors, directors, producers. And finally, we get a incredible talent who has decided to kind of like take the live experience and adapt that to film. So let's go ahead and start right there. So what got you into songwriting and music in the first place?
The short answer would probably be Kurt Cobain.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like, so when I was into hip, I guess when I was 9, I was into, I guess, hip hop music from, a friend of mine at grade school. And my dad was sick of listening to it. And he had a whole huge record collection or CD collection at the time. And this was like a big deal back then, right? He had like 400 CDs. And he handed me Pearl Jam 10 and he handed me Nirvana Nevermind. So I put on Pearl Jam 10 and I was just like, wow, this is the best shit I've ever heard in my life. And nothing's going to top this. And then I put on Nirvana. Did you get into
any Alice in Chains though?
That came after, because he did have that in his catalog, but once I put on Nirvana, like my life was changed completely. Like I ran to my buddy's house, I played it for him, I begged my dad to buy me a guitar, and by the time I was 12, I had my first acoustic guitar. He took me to like the mall and bought me he spent about $300 on a guitar that plugged in an acoustic, and his friends told him, get him to start an acoustic because it's easier well, it's harder to play, and when he goes to an electric, it's going to be
That's
easier, I
actually
guess.
very true.
Yeah, yeah,
My guitarist from Black Tar Superstar always tells me that, you know, the strings different from the acoustic to the electric are like night and day.
oh yeah,
It's almost like they're thicker and it's harder to bend. So
for
when you
sure.
actually pick up an electric, it's like you can just fucking make that thing squeal as much as you want.
Yeah, and acoustic doesn't really hide mistakes either. So
For sure.
you really gotta play well. You can't have like distortion or fuzz and whatever course hiding all your bullshit, right? Like it's
Oh, for
so,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I started playing acoustic at 12, and then took my parents put me in lessons for a couple of years, but I didn't like doing the theory and stuff. And my guitar teacher and I just started learning songs, and in those 2 years developed a band. And some guy showed me a couple of chords, and I sucked for a year. I didn't know really anything. It was just like learning a language, and just some random guy showed me a few songs, and all this stuff became clear, and I just understood the language. Back then I started writing music around 13, started playing bars at 14. And I took
Holy
a
shit.
couple. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I took a couple. Well, they had all ages shows and shit back then, so
Ah,
we were just doing
yeah, it's
that.
pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Things were a lot looser.
But yeah, we played in. I've been playing in bands, since then, right? So
Hmm.
with this band, Frailfragment, between 2007 and 2011, we did 350 shows. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so we played all across Southern Ontario. I'm from Toronto, Canada,
I was
Ontario.
just about to ask.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I'm in Toronto. It's a big city here. But
Oh,
we played
absolutely.
everywhere, bro. Like we even dipped into the States. We did some New York dates and stuff, and I was throwing
Nice.
like pretty cool shows, man. I was like handpicking the bands and started trying to start a movement, but it's not easy. Like you're walking that walk too, right? So
Any genre is tough when it's oversaturated, copied, rehashed, refried
mhm,
beans, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, it's difficult, especially I think for like the I would say the post grunge era, like that sound.
Hmm.
When you only have so many of the bands that were at the top, there's only a few, less than a handful
Yeah.
left that are still doing it. Queens of the Stone Age,
Oh yeah.
bands like that. So Alice in Chains is still going strong, thank
They are.
goodness. But
They
then
are.
again, Jerry Cantrell is a fucking genius.
Yeah, he's
Um,
amazing. He's amazing.
but yeah, without Soundgarden, without Nirvana, how was that? Was it difficult booking, or did you kind of notice that fans were wanting to hear a good alt rock or grunge kind of thing?
Well, when I started out, it was just kind of, all ages. You'd have one guy or a company of like a few guys, and they would book a venue, and they would kind of extort kids. They'd say,
Ah,
okay, here, go sell a bunch of tickets. You got to sell at least 20 tickets, and then you can play in this time slot. So we were out, selling tickets and stuff.
yes.
And you make bullshit, right? But you're on stage and you're 14 years old, right?
When you're
So
14 years old, you don't give a fuck. You're like, I just want to get up there and rock. I have a parent or two, and they can buy me what I want. So money is not that important
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
But yeah, then I kind of just with that band kind of dismantled, and I kind of went crazy and near the end of high school. And that's when Napster was around, and like I just started discovering new music and going to like dark raves,
Yeah.
and getting into electro industrial and
Oh, nice.
tons of stuff, man. Like I
Excellent mix.
yeah, I was
Like,
going to
what would
what?
you say is like your favorite industrial band?
Well, I mean, I really got into at that time like bands like VNV Nation and
Yes.
like Covenant,
Oh,
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
hits me
So
right in the feels.
nice, nice. Yeah, those I'm gonna branch off and do an electro industrial album for sure before I croak. I'm 40 now, and I didn't think I was gonna write 5 albums like rock album like rock
For
grunge
sure.
alternative albums, but I still want to keep going with this, and it's almost like I don't have a choice. And
Yes.
I do want to do an electro industrial album and hook up with like some awesome producer in Toronto. You know, there's a few names out there like Lazarus and Fink and all these guys, and they're like they're still doing dark raves, right? So I mean, these guys are
Is it
still in shape
is
to play.
industrial music still kind of big, in Canada at the moment,
It's
or
it. I couldn't really tell you. I've been out of the scene for a long time, but what I can tell you is when these dark raves happen, the venue is packed, and they're partying all night long. So it
I was
hasn't
going to
changed.
say where the
Hasn't changed.
party is,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is where they will go.
Yeah. But there's not a lot of venues. There's not a lot of venues, and the venues are kind of rented out for these dark raves. And they
Gotcha.
usually happen every first Saturday of every month. And that's been
Mhm.
happening for the last 20 years, right? So it's pretty cool. Yeah, COVID did screw things up. They were doing like, dark
Oof.
raves online and shit like that. But I mean, these guys, a lot of people lost their shirts, and they couldn't play live, and everything's changed. It feels like everything's propelled kind of like 10 years into the future.
Oh,
And
for sure.
I was, depressed and didn't know what to do, and I got sent home from work for a year because of this lockdown. So I just started hustling and getting my music out there, right? Because I had like a lot of stuff, and I wrote an album during COVID during that lockdown with that fifth album that came out May 4th. And I got in touch, and I started with like Facebook, international Facebook, movies that are in production, and like student films even.
Oh,
and
okay.
and I started
That's a
trying to
hell of a place to start.
well, I didn't know where to start. So like I just kind of I started from the bottom, and then I kind of found where I wanted to go, and it led me to like horror movies in production and independent film, and then Jerry G. Angelo, and then Jason Hawkins. And I found Jason Hawkins. But just to back up the bus, before that, 4 days into the search, this director from Hollywood, Michael Mostasus, who's doing a Ravage series, this Ravage trilogy, he messaged me on my phone. He was interested in my music, and from the beginning of the pandemic to now, he's doing a second movie now. It's in production, and he's kind of him and I have joined forces with the music as well. And it's like a apocalyptic, zombie psychosis type of a movie.
Nice.
Part
Kind
one
of end of
is
days.
part one. It should be out. It's won a lot of awards. Should be out soon if it's not out now. The Ravage series, and you can head to frailfragment.com. There's more information there, or Len Lamanna on Facebook, or Frailfragment on Facebook. But yeah, and I started talking to Jason Hawkins, and I really liked his aesthetic, and he's done some stuff on Netflix like Haunted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's an awesome director, man. And like so I'm down with him, and whenever these movies
Did you
fall on
kind
my
of like,
lap.
for the people out there in Three Witches Land, did you kind of like, meet people through people kind of thing to like
Absolutely,
continually keep
absolutely. Like
yourself going?
and
Okay.
you gotta put in a lot of work.
Oh, no shit.
But the thing was, before COVID, if I were to contact 100 music supervisors that license your songs, you might
Yes.
get three people out of 100 that message you back, and from
Hmm.
those three, none of them pay you.
Ah,
So that
sounds like Spotify.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But now, what during this lockdown, you'd have if you message. I didn't. I said fuck it with the music supervisors, and I went straight to the directors. And I
Okay.
messaged like, let's say 100 directors. 20 directors got back to me. And I'm thinking this is the time to attack because everyone's working from home. Everyone's in front of their computers. Like, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? And yeah, so the response
For real.
was unreal. And I got like 20 people messaging me back. And then you have like 3 directors paying you to have your music in their movie, right? It's pretty cool. And then from
Mhm.
there, it's kind of like this snowball that's going downhill, that's getting bigger and bigger, and you're meeting people such as yourself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like
I'm
I've
so
done
delightful.
yeah, and I did a podcast with it's called Doomsday's Crypts with John Henderson. That he's an awesome guy that I've met along the way too. And it's I'm really liking the process, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really liking putting in, just creating a body of work. And so I'm doing the podcasting, I'm doing music, I'm doing scores, and I'm kind of taking myself out of the studio, because I became obsessed with being in the studio and getting this album done and everything. Oh, cute cat.
The second star of the show has
Oh yeah.
decided to come up on me here. Sorry about that.
No, it's all
There we
good. What's your cat's name?
go. Gotta love it.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so
Double cat.
yeah.
Hashtag. Yeah, it's always been very interesting to hear stories about how people have kept themselves working, especially in the music industry during, the I guess you could say now the COVID years,
Mhm.
because for us here in the States, 2020 was like the fucking shit of all shit because everything was shut down, couldn't do nothing. And all of us bands, my band, Black Tar Superstar, who actually got a record deal during the pandemic
Oh wow.
because of our online presence and constantly pushing, hustling, pushing, making friends with every band that we could possibly, that's in the scene that we're in, and, making relationships and stuff like that. And that's how that shit happens. So, it's one of the first stories I've ever heard where somebody who was more on the band side, like myself, who took the advantage um, during the COVID times to reach out to a different medium,
Mhm.
such as, doing movie scores.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe your process for that? Because did you have anything kind of pre-written prior to reaching out, to those
Yeah.
people, or?
So I had 4 albums pre-written,
Mhm.
and I had some ideas as well.
Okay.
So I was promoting the last 2 albums I was doing. I did, uh, you know, uh, B Fragments, the Black Album. If you go to Spotify or wherever, you see that, the Black Album, and the Gray and Red Album, and that the or yeah yeah, and those were the last 2 albums that I did
Yes.
before this new one, and I was just pushing those 2 albums because they sounded really good sonically,
Mhm.
and they had a lot of cool songs that I felt that I believed in that would work with movies. So, I mean, I had the product, and it was just about kind of getting in touch with these people and following up, and knowing how to not bother these people, you know? And
That's always the toughest part. It's like, knock, knock, knock. Hello.
yeah,
Guess
yeah,
what?
it's
I got something for you.
yeah, friendly reminder.
Right.
But yeah, it's a tough balance that you learn. And there's been some doors that, people say they're just not interested, and you can kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
bounce off
I
that.
mean,
You can kind of
there's
bounce off
always that.
that and say, "Well, can you know, point me in the right direction?" And maybe they'll have somebody that they could, say, "Okay, contact this guy." And then now you have somebody that has given you that name, and you can use him as a reference, right? So
Oh,
it's
for
just
sure.
all about climbing that ladder and staying really organized. Um, but I'm not a rich guy because my songs are in movies. It's just I'm doing this to kind of get out there and share my music with everybody, like, and that was my driving force for this whole thing, right? Because
Hmm.
I did use the lockdown to my advantage, where I wrote an album that I feel it's really special to me, because
Yes.
how often
I
do
know
we
that
have
feeling so well.
a worldwide pandemic, right? It's like the last time was 100 years ago or whatever it was. So, I mean,
Not quite
yeah,
the plague, but,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people
it
got
was
fucked up
lame.
mentally. A lot of people got fucked up mentally, though, man. Like, it was all over the news
That's
saying,
very true.
stay inside and don't talk to anybody and wear gloves and wear a mask. And before you know it, you're fucking crazy, right?
Uh, that's true.
So, I don't know, man. But yeah, like, it affected a lot of people mentally, and me included, and it's in that album.
Yeah.
And that's what makes that album special, because I wrote it during the pandemic, I recorded it during the pandemic, and I distributed it during the pandemic, like all within those 2 years. So, I mean, that's a big accomplishment. And then now I'm doing a podcast as well, keeping busy, all about having that body of work. But then you got to take a step back. Like, I have 2 kids, I have a wife, and like all of that shit suffers when you obsess over some, album that you want to write, or, this and that. So you got to have some sort of a balance as well. I mean, when you have a family, if you don't have a family, balls to the wall, just go after it, right? Do whatever you need to do. But,
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
so
I
yeah.
just happened to get lucky that, my son is also one of the guitar players in the band.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Nice.
yeah, it was, here's your shot, learn the stuff. I guarantee if you can learn it, they'll love you. And he became a part of it. So that's not exactly everyone's, experience with it. So yeah, in my case, it was kind of lucky, but trust me, I mean, I have a family, wife, whole 9 yards. So trust me, I understand. It's difficult because any performer, it doesn't matter what medium you're on, when you feel strongly about a project that you're working on, whether it's, writing or music, or, even do an independent film, you're going to throw yourself into it for the time. And, especially if it's your creation. So yeah, it can definitely take some time away from that. So we're kind of glad you did it, though, because I mean, it's really moving you forward, and that's the most important thing. And I'm sure they're proud of you for it. So before we get to the next segment, we're going to take a quick commercial break with one of my new sponsors at throttleaddict.com. That's right. Whether or not you're a motorcycle enthusiast or you like to ride with the devil on the dark side, throttleaddict.com most definitely has a clothing line that is growing by leaps and bounds. So if you like some of the designs, whether it's a classic pinup design, or anything like the different kind of like skulls and stuff like that, especially you ladies out there in Three Witches Land, if you like that type of look, they have something for everybody. Please go to throttleaddict.com, use my code Reaper, and you can get yourself 15% off. All right. So we are back with Len Lamanna from Frailfragment, and we've been discussing basically how he's taken his love for music, also being in a band and being able to take those songs and actually switch to a little bit of a different medium with music scoring. Basically, songs that he's written that fit certain types of film, whether it's independent or major. So did you ever possibly see any of your songs? Like, are you a horror fan at all? And did you ever kind of think that some of your songs would be great for a horror film?
I am a horror fan. I'm a movie fan more so. My wife
Oh,
and I my wife and I watch tons of movies, but yeah, my music has a dark sound to it. It's
okay.
pop. It's poppy. It has a pop, rock, alternative metal pop, but it's always dark. I find like there's always this darkness to it, and I have a lot of soundscapes as well that tend to be on the dark side. So yeah, I really feel like my music is inspiring, and would work well with film, right? Horror films being my music being dark, I don't know why that genre chose me, but maybe it was could have been as simple
The
as
darkness
me.
comes to us all.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been just what found me during the pandemic, right? Like what worked for me
Yeah,
at
for
that
sure.
time, right? So, but yeah, like I'm open to, I love a good comedy movie, but there's not very many of them out there, right? But yeah, like horror movies.
Darker comedies actually seem like the flavor that's coming out more so ever than before. I mean, there's always been some kind of like dark humor type stuff, but it seems like it's getting darker these days instead of like the frilly nilly, you know, boy meets girl, falls in love with girl, breaks up for a second, comes back. Only this time she hits him over the head with a sledgehammer. At least that's what it seems like to me. It's like, not so much puppy dogs and rabbits.
Let me ask you, what's your favorite horror movie that I would know?
Hmm.
Sorry to
Now
put you
this
on
is
the
one of the
spot, but
first times. No, actually, I appreciate that. I like it being thrown back at me sometimes. I kind of shift through mostly classic horror because I've always been a fan of like the 60s, the 70s, and yeah, run, rabbit, run. That's right. Bill Mosley, love you. Um, I've, like I said, those genres, even moving into the 90s when things kind of took a different turn with screen. Um, my favorite of all time would have to be the master, Christopher Lee, who would probably played the best version of Dracula ever in those early Hammer Productions films.
cool.
If I had to say something as of like more recent times, Hereditary is one of my favorites.
It's cool. Yeah, I watched that. I checked that movie out.
It
Yeah, it
was
was good.
bizarre
Yeah.
in so many great ways, delicious ways.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Hellraiser. Hellraiser was introduced to us in the late 80s,
Yeah.
but, kind of like carried on after that.
Hmm.
Those types of characters where you almost fall in love with the bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like The Shining. I
The Shining is a fantastic film
I mean the imagery.
and a
Well, it
better
was a
book.
book, right? It was a book, but
Yes, it's a much
I
better
mean
book.
Jack Nicholson kicked ass, man.
Oh my goodness. That's why I'm so much more of a bigger fan of the original It as opposed
Yeah.
to the newer one that was kind of revamped.
Well, that It movie was the movie. That movie was the movie that scared the shit out of me for about 8 months as a kid. Watching it at like some kid's birthday party, I was traumatized.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was 8. I
Could
think
you
I was
imagine eating your
7
cake
or
going,
8 when I
oh
watched it. Yeah,
fuck?
I was done. I was done from there. Halloween, like when Halloween 5 or 4 came, I think it was part 5 when it came out. I was pretty young too. I'm 40 now, but
For
that
sure.
movie fucked me up too, pretty good. But yeah,
Michael Myers is good for that, just so you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
my favorite slasher of all time.
Right, right. Did you like A House of a Thousand Corpses?
Uh
Rob Zombie?
that's like saying, does a bear shit in the woods?
Okay, okay. Because
Absolutely.
I feel like that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.0, right? Like it's pretty
To a
no?
degree with a twist.
Yeah. But
To a degree with a
it
twist.
just keeps
Just
twisting.
darker,
It just
you
keeps
know?
twisting. Just keeps twisting
Yes.
down. I thought that was a really cool, like I guess newer
For sure.
yeah, that
Absolutely. Rob Zombie really kind of took like that classic horror idea
yeah.
and brought it in a way that people of today would just love so much better. And if anything, I think it actually told them in a way subliminally, check out the stuff from like, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. This is what influenced this film, and you'll see what we're talking about. It was just more sinister, more diabolical. And
Mm.
it had some of the best horror actors in the business. Sid Haig, um, Bill Moseley,
Yeah.
and some like newer up and coming actors from like The Office and stuff like that. And it was just an awesome story. The storyline was fantastic.
But even like you could tell that that was his baby, because I don't know if you've watched it, but like the video selecting page at the beginning of the fucking video, if you leave it running, it's a 30-minute long Sid Haig video.
Yes.
I mean,
Mhm.
I've never seen that, but like there was just time, I guess I was just like laying in my bed
He
and I
was
had
just the
that
coolest man.
playing,
He was
and I'm
just the
like,
coolest.
what the fuck is going on right now? He just keeps talking to you, and you're like, and he's like, well, I haven't left yet. You know, it's just like, oh my God, like there was so much involved in that. There's so much creativity involved in that. Just in every part of that movie, I liked it a lot as a newer horror movie. But the older classics is for me is The Shining, like the imagery, like the imagery. I forget her name, but his wife in it was awesome, and just
Oh
the
shit.
imagery and like the
I
where
know
the doors
exactly who you're
open
talking
and the
about.
blood and like the girls in the bathtub, and just like so much imagery that stays with that has staying with me, right? Like
Even all the way down to the little boy who's like red rum,
yeah,
red
yeah, yeah.
rum. Yes,
Cool
olive
movie.
oil. But that's not her real name. I think it was Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, something like
Oh
that.
fuck, I think I just actually remembered it.
That's awesome,
We're
man.
talking. Oh, my producer just said I got it right. Hey, give me some money.
Nice.
No, I'm kidding. Reaper got one right tonight. Ah!
Exorcist was good too. Exorcist was a good one, but
You know
I mean,
what? And
I haven't watched it in a while, so
I am a huge Exorcist fan. The second one was, I mean, I appreciated it for the story. It gave you some backstory, and we were actually moving forward. But that part three
uh-huh.
was the goriest version
Yeah.
of that film. Yes, Max von Sydow. Actually, still one of my favorite actors to this day. Thank you, Ian. I'm sorry, Marvin Rodriguez. Thank you
Oh,
so
nice.
much.
That's my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you for joining the show. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, something about the third one just gripped me harder. Even though the very first one was just, oh my goodness.
Just to throw out an Ian shout out, we'd have movie nights like 15 years ago at his place, and he brought over this movie that was another movie I have to mention that shocked me. It was Sleepaway Camp. Like the
Oh
end of that
man,
movie, the
you're
end of the
really
movie
getting
was
in
just
my
like, and
neck of the
that
woods.
was Ian's pick. So shout out to Ian and Sleepaway Camp. I mean, I thought it was just like this
Excellent
weird.
film.
Why would you bring this to our movie nights? And then the end with we're just all looking at each other. We're like, what the fuck?
Right. I can
But I mean,
remember when
pretty
I was a
disturbing.
kid, back
Yeah.
when you used to go to the video store.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all VHS, right?
Yeah.
So I'm dating myself now. But anyway, so you go into the video store and you would see a VHS. You got the big box covers, not
Was
the
that
DVD
Blockbuster
covers.
Video or somewhere else?
Yeah, like Blockbuster. Yeah, that was the big one, back in the day, all the
Yeah.
way through the 90s, actually, surprisingly.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember seeing that cover and telling my mom, I'm like, Sleepaway Camp sounds awesome. It's got the girl on the front cover and there's blood and a knife. And I'm just sitting here going, oh, this must be scary. Such a good one.
Yeah. I don't know what other ones really. Rosemary's Baby was good. I mean, that was
Classic.
really cool.
Xander LaFay was in that film.
That was dark, man. That
He
was a
played the
dark
devil.
one. Oh, no, wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, just a great film. Period.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So,
were you kind of a big fan of Stephen King? Just about anything he did.
I read all his books in order. The first
Nice.
15 to 20 books, all in order, when I was maybe about 20 years ago, and I loved it. Right. Once the iPhone came out, man, I stopped reading books, man. But I had a whole wall of books that I read. I was big into reading, and it sucks, man. Like this new digital technology is so good / addictive. Like I just,
Yes.
it's so hard to pick up a book these
Agreed.
days and read anything. But yeah,
Do
I
you
read.
use a Kindle?
No, no.
I do.
Yeah, good for you. You're
Only
still
because the
reading?
big print is better.
Are you still reading books on the Kindle?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good for you, man. Good for you.
Absolutely. Oh, I don't stop reading.
Yeah. That's like reading, like really up my lyric game, like with writing songs and stuff. And it's too bad I'm I can't motivate myself. I don't have the attention span anymore to read a book. But I loved Stephen King, man. I thought it was like kind of trashy garbage writing. But he was the best at it. He was the total best at it. His character build up was great, and just, I don't know. He's awesome, man. Like that guy was incredible writer.
How
Still
do
is.
you
Still
rate
alive.
Clive Barker?
I didn't get into him much. I was all about Stephen King as far as the horror genre. Like I didn't really read much else, man. I just, I read Stephen King. I read some Cormac McCarthy books like The Road and stuff like that, which is real awesome. If you ever want to read a great book, The Road by is he better than Dean Koontz? I don't know. Maybe I don't know much about Clive Barker or whatever, and I'm big into Stephen King, right? So that's
Well, let's put it this way. Clive
okay.
Barker was, he wrote the story Hellraiser.
Okay.
So that's where we got Pinhead.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a lot of other books too, like In the Mouth of Madness. There was one novel that was called I want to say The Illusionist.
Yeah.
As well, which actually, obviously was adapted and became movies. Also, shit. One of the classic movies, Nightbreed.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
He was the one who wrote the story there. That
That's
movie
cool.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Horror-wise. Almost like a cult classic. But Hellraiser, I think, was probably his biggest hit of all time. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
still making the movies. They're talking about, revamping the original Hellraiser, which I'm like,
Scared
you
me as a
better
kid.
not fuck it up.
They probably will. They probably will. But that movie did scare me, man. When I was younger, I was like, when that movie came
That
out,
was
I
a
was
good one.
fucking. When did it come out? In 88 or 89?
I think 88, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 6 years old, right? Like I was scared shitless of seeing Hellraiser. I got to revisit those movies because I haven't
It's
seen
worth
the
it.
Hellraisers in a long time. Wes Craven was good too with what's his name?
1987. Shit, 1 year off.
Okay, so I was 5. But Nightmare on Elm Street was kick ass too, man. That was a good premise where if you fall asleep, this guy comes and fucking kills you. That was pretty twisted for me, man. That was, and I like the first 2. I like the first 3. I think I like the half of part 3, but the part 1, part 2, and half of part 3 were like amazing movies.
Just
like,
half.
yeah, just kind of lost its thing, I think, through midway through the third one, and then like the fourth one going onward, I lost interest, man. Like
some of it did seem like it was regurgitated after the third film.
Yeah.
It was a time in horror, I think, where a lot of like the writers just, I don't know if they just lost originality. I mean, the same thing happened to Halloween there for a while. And let's face it, Friday the 13th, Jason.
Oh yeah.
All you had to do was have like a medium where there's, people fucking and then they die.
Yeah.
I mean, they even put them in Manhattan, for New York City in one of the films. So it was just like, now you're putting them in outer space in Jason X.
Yeah. I lost touch like fucking 30 years ago.
It's one of those, some of those films, the ones that don't stand out amongst the rest, you just want to kind of get fucked up and watch it and laugh and eat popcorn or whatever. You
Absolutely.
can't take it seriously, but some of the good movies that have come out since then, like Scream, took it to another level,
Yeah.
added some humor to it.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, Genghis and I were actually on the other show we do called the Shred. We shredded a horror list, and we were talking about like The Conjuring, Insidious, Sinister. Those are like a lot of the more recent films, and a lot of them actually were pretty good for the
Insidious was
most part.
pretty freaky, man.
Oh yeah, just from the start of the music, like the music at the very beginning, all of a sudden it goes wah. It's almost like I don't know, a buzzer going off, and it just
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
blows your fucking head back.
I mean, that movie kind of got to me. Like it got my attention for sure. That was one of
Yes,
those new movies that kind of was like, I like, what the fuck, man? This is pretty heavy. I
extremely.
liked like Orphanage, which isn't even that. Who did it? I think it's the guy that did Pan's
Yes.
Labyrinth,
Pan's Labyrinth. Yes,
and
that
I
was
love that
just
movie.
awesome.
But he did The Orphanage too. I don't know if it's the same guy, but The Orphanage was a cool, like, I guess, horror movie, but Spanish, English subtitles. But there is
Hmm.
some Spanish movies, horror films. A Secret in Their Eyes was pretty sick, man. Like all these movies were like real good for substance, more of psychological horror. Like, you don't see blood and
Yes.
guts and stuff like that. But I mean, oh,
Yes.
we need to talk about Kevin was pretty sick too, man. Like that was a good movie. I don't know if it's not horror, but I mean it's something. It makes you feel like shit after you
Well,
watch it. So
just like Genghis just put up a few moments ago, Del Toro, Guillermo. Man, what he did with Hellboy.
yeah.
What was it? What was it? No, it wasn't Event Horizon. Damn it. The one where, they were created these huge robot bodies to fight off monsters.
I don't know.
I forget what the hell that was called, but just about anything he did was just sick, man.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's really good. Pan's Labyrinth was an amazing movie.
Oh man,
I love
it
that
took you to
movie.
places you never thought it would go.
I know exactly like where she takes the hook and she like rips the guy's fucking mouth off. And you like hate that guy so
You weren't
much, right?
expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's when you like
scene had a
stand
lot
up
of
and like
power.
root for it.
Yeah, that scene had a lot of power, like, and just the makeup and the characters, it was so cool, man. It was like a really dark version of like Alice in Wonderland or something, like, I don't know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but
Now, was there any like particular films, let's say The Crow, for instance,
yeah.
hailed as one of the greatest cinematic soundtracks of all time?
Oh, that was so good. Teething, Deftones, fucking
Yes,
Cypress
Stone
Hill was
Temple
on that.
Pilots,
Yeah,
Nine Inch Nails was
Nine
on
Inch
it.
Nails, Stone Temple Pilots. There was tons. That was probably the best soundtrack, man, of my coming up. Anyway,
Did that ever kind of, maybe make you think like, hey, one of my songs could be, on a soundtrack like this?
absolutely, absolutely. Like that movie, Romeo and Juliet, with like you had some
Oh
Radiohead
yeah,
and stuff like
Garbage
that.
was on that soundtrack too.
And Radiohead had a pretty kick-ass song on that too, and just yeah, there was a lot of good soundtracks. Lost Highway was good. That
Oh,
had
that's how we
Bowie and
discovered
Manson.
Rammstein.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, movies and music go hand in hand, right? So
They do.
yeah.
Sometimes with the horror genre, it's like the lack of music makes it scarier.
Hmm.
But there are just some times when there's like a lot of action, instead of like your traditional strings and stuff like that, metal sounds like the industrial kind of stuff. Just, I have to reference one of the video games. Shit. I'm so bad.
Oh, it's
Um,
all good. I think I even know what video game I think I know what video game you're talking about. I just can't remember the
the
name
guy
of
with the box head. Fuck.
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill.
That's
The music in that film was sick.
You know what another good music to video game is Resident Evil, man.
Oh, for sure. And even more so, you look at that first soundtrack from the very first film, the very first live action film.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great metal bands on
There
that
was.
It was
I like
sick.
that movie too. I like that movie.
Oh, yeah. Mila Jovovich really drove that character home.
Yeah,
Honestly, in all the sequels as well. I mean, without her, it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how the new one does, but
I like part
quick,
one. I like part one a lot. I like part one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next segment in the show, let's take a quick break to check out the bands of my Terror Crew Productions, Ohio, Nebraska. All right. So, as you know, it's going to be a big month this month for Terror Crew Productions, Ohio, Nebraska. For the bands that I manage, including my own Black Tar Superstar, will be in Canton, Ohio next week for the Yatra and Self God show, as well as Terror Crew's only Drop Dead Damn It. Will also be at the Memorial Day Metal Fest 3-day festival
They sound
in
amazing.
San Antonio, Texas. So a lot of the bands are out there doing a lot of shows. And as a matter of fact, just to let y'all know out there, Doomsday Rejects will be at the Kona, also at the end of the month in Florida. Jacksonville, actually. Had to make sure I got that right. So just so you know, a lot of the bands, we're all out there. We're tearing it up. So it's a great month for doom metal. All right. We are back with Len Lamanna, Frailfragment. So are you thinking about still moving forward with doing, music scores, sending your music out to see, if they would like to use it in future films?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm just kind of, climbing up that ladder. It feels like the people at the top have a monopoly going,
Mm-hmm.
like the people that are making money kind of like deal with a small group of people. So it's hard to kind of infiltrate that network, right? So, I mean,
that's the music industry as a whole, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, for sure. Like there's no better feeling than, getting money for your song that's going to be heard by so many people, in a movie or something, especially if you believe in the movie. And I'll tell you this, like going back to Jason Hawkins, The Bleeding Dark, when that movie falls on my lap, I'm going to, it's going to be very like I've storyboarded the movie already in my head. It's going to be very reflective, and then the bottom's just going to drop out of that fucking movie, and it's going to be really, really fucking scary. So
Awesome.
yeah, like it's Joe Castro did the effects for that, and
Okay.
he's an amazing special effects
Oh,
guy.
he's the best.
Yeah, and
I've seen a lot of his work, and I am like uber impressed.
yeah, like he
So,
takes a hammer in that movie and he hits a guy where he takes his face off with the hammer, right? Like
holy
he
shit.
does a lot of crazy shit. Yeah, like a lot of blood in that movie. And the other movie he has going is The Last Sleigh Ride, which is a little bit more of like a dark, sexy kind of feel,
Gotcha.
with some energy to it. But The Bleeding Dark is kind of the movie I really want to attack. And he has he has a bunch of stuff. This guy's really prolific. Cross Hollow. I'm probably going to get some stuff into that. There's a short film that he did that one of my songs Funeral is in. But yeah, if I can write things on the fly, and that's what I tend to do with composing. Have a really nice a Rolly keyboard that I use, and it's a silicone kind of pad, opposed to like a keyboard. So you can push your fingers into it and kind of massage the keyboard and kind of be in that scene. For example, if like somebody's strangling somebody, you're feeling that, opposed to just hitting a
Nice.
key.
It's
Right.
like
So
sticking your fingers into some ice cream.
exactly. It gives you that like,
there you go, Genghis. Get yourself one of these.
yeah, man. A Rolly is a good piece of hardware, man. You should definitely grab one if you haven't. It's coveted though. It's hard to get, but I mean,
Okay. So it's
um,
probably like newer technology.
well, they stopped making them. It's from UK. They stopped making them, I think, in 2017, and now they're bringing them back again,
Oh, damn.
like a few months
Okay.
ago. So I mean, these things were going for a lot of money, man. And I was trying to buy one used, and some girl just let me borrow hers. I basically drove to her house, and she handed me a Rolly in the box, the best MIDI keyboard on the planet. And I drove
Wow.
off, and she didn't even have my
Okay.
contact information, dude. She had nothing. So I was thinking I could rob this girl right now. But then on the other hand,
Well,
I
we
was
don't want to
thinking, you
do
know
that.
what? You know what I was on the other hand, I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to give this back to her. I'm
That's
going to
good.
so I mean, I gave it back to her about 3 weeks ago because I bought one. And
Nice.
like I finally got my hands on one, and shout out to that situation. That's a good story in itself. And it is told on the Red and Len show, premiering July 4th at
Nice.
7 a.m. Cool podcast, and hopefully, we can continue to cross promote and do what we need to do, because I would love for you to check out the Red and Len show. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's a
absolutely.
great show to, drive to work to, and just kind of have a laugh, because we talk about current events, and we share stories and music and movies,
Nice.
and kind of everything we like doing, right? So
Almost have.
yeah, man.
Where are the best places to hear, the 5 albums that you've put out, so that everybody out there in Three Witches Land know where to go in order to hear your stuff?
You can go to Spotify, iTunes, all the biggest media platforms, or you can go to frailfragment.com, and there's links there to Spotify. We're on YouTube as well. You could check out Len Lamanna. That's me.
Yes, absolutely.
Frailfragment.com is the website, and I put like kind of like all of my body of work is on frailfragment.com. I got short stories, pictures, videos, movies,
Oh, that's awesome.
albums. So that's it's all there for your enjoyment. All the music's on YouTube for free. You can check it out. If you want to support, you can go to Spotify or iTunes or whatever you need to do. and then the Red and Len show will be linked to there somehow. We're going to have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those pages on there as well, like for that show. Yeah.
All right. So as we're wrapping it up here, now with, some of the fans that you've probably made tonight that have not been, haven't heard of you yet, what kind of message would you like to leave them with, or maybe some aspiring musicians that want to get into, the movie industry as far as getting their music out there?
Well, getting into the movie industry is you have to be really organized. Start from, keep your goals really, really small. If it's just doing what I did, joining a Facebook page, a movie page, and, with a lot of people on that page that have active, hits and stuff, see what movies are in production, and figure out where you want to be, like where your music fits. If you feel like it's dark or whatever it is, or where does your music go, right? And that's what you got to figure out. And then start off with Facebook, finding movies that are in production, and start contacting people that are working on those movies. And that's how you start, right? And then from there, keep spreadsheets and follow up with these people and try to build relationships with these people without bothering them. And, it's something that you learn over time, and just get out there and do it. Don't listen to me. I don't have all the answers, right? Just get out there and do it. And your way might be different than somebody else's way, so that's what it is. Right. I don't know. I forget what your first question was, but that was, how to get out there and do your thing. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Like I said, it's definitely a different medium that the show here at Reaper's Underground hasn't had a chance to tackle yet. I've had actors, I've had directors, but somebody who actually does the, scoring, whether it's traditional, non-traditional, I think it's definitely a topic that I would love to have again. I would love to have you back on, to see what you're working on, and just about anything that you have coming out. Obviously, the new record, we will definitely share that out. And believe it or not, there's a lot of musicians out there that, would like to, they could see some of their songs being on, various films. And, you've really kind of like opened that door on how to do it. Most people don't know where to start. It's like podcasting. It's like, well, what do? You just fucking do it.
Yeah, man.
You come up with an idea, you craft it, make it appealing, and figure out where your dynamic lies. It's the same with music. So,
and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
And, please check out my new album, Fragments. It's the blue album on that chart. Just came out last week. I really believe in it. I think it's special. It's, during COVID times, I went through all the channels to get it to you sounding properly sonically. And, I just check it out. Add me. You can add me on YouTube, Len Lamanna, Instagram, Frailfragment. Just go to the website, check out my stuff, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's been an honor, man. And as your podcast, continues to grow and stuff like that, would love to have you both on, and we can talk about the show that you guys do as well.
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So you've heard it here tonight. Thank y'all. Excuse me. Thank y'all out allergies. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I know Thursday night is kind of different for us, but it's an action-packed weekend for me. So
Drop Down Damn It sounds amazing. Drop Down Damn It. They sounded amazing. I'm definitely going to check them out. I mean, they sound pretty sick. And I'm going to check you guys out too, even more. Like I did yesterday, I did some homework. You guys sound cool too, man. Like, so definitely going to jump on that as well. So thanks again for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. We'll definitely have you back for sure.
Cool, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. And as always out there in Three Witches Land, Reaper Nation, stay heavy.